Hello. The collaboration between Milton Bradley Games and Games Workshop resulted in some of the best games of their time, possibly all time. HeroQuest and Space Crusade are incredible. Sorry, Battlemasters, but what if I told you there was a fourth game planned as well, and it was about wizards racing chariots? I'm Jordan, this is Jordan Sorcery, and today we're exploring the lost history of battle wizards. Now, I should start by warning you that there's not an awful lot of information around about this game, but I have been able to piece together a couple of key facts and pictures that give a little bit of an insight into what could have been. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like, but let's get started. Don't be distracted by this cat, just listen to my voice. Between 1989 and 1992, MB Games released 3 phenomenal miniatures-based board games. They were developed in collaboration with Games Workshop, who helped build out the rules and the worlds that the games were set in. And Citadel Miniatures provided the heroes and monsters that populated them. The first, 1989's HeroQuest, was designed to be a family dungeon crawler. I'm actually working on a complete history of the game, and you can stay tuned to the channel to see that, hopefully sometime in the next couple of months. If you are a time traveller from the future, you can click here to watch it, assuming that I remember to put the link in this video. In 1990, Space Crusade was released, a sci-fi 40k exploration of an equivalent dungeon in space, a Space Hulk. I've done a deep dive on that already, which you can click here to see. And in 1992, the Unhinged Battlemasters was released. This was an attempt to put the entirety of a Warhammer battlefield into one box, and it had an absolutely enormous battle map, completely wild. That was not as big a success as the other two, but was still an incredible attempt to take wargaming to the masses. That was it for the MB and GW collaboration, except in a 2013 interview at the Realm of Chaos 80s blog, Games Workshop's previous owner, Bryan Ansell, was asked about games that never got released. And he said, "We talked about many things that we never actually got round to. Loads of things. I think that any manufacturer of anything must inevitably do that. At the point that I left Games Workshop, work had started on a 4th game for MB. It was a Chariot racing game. It never came out. I gather that models were made, so there are probably bootleg castings out there in the world somewhere." A 4th game developed with MB. My mind was completely blown when I read this. I couldn't believe it. This is something that I've literally never heard about before. So where could we start? Well, there is always the incredible resource, the Collecting Citadel Minis wiki. The site has pictures of the unreleased minis that were sculpted for the game, including the 6 chariots that Bryan Ansell presumably refers to. Each seems to have been inspired by a different Warhammer race, and whilst the Battle Wizards Chariot race game never made it to tabletops, most of these chariot designs seem to be ancestors of later miniatures in the wider Warhammer line. The first is a seemingly elven chariot, and although this one doesn't seem to have a direct descendant, there are similar stylings that are reminiscent of the later Sky Cutter from Warhammer's High Elf range. The second is a Skaven-style doom wheel. As you might expect, I love this. A really fun riff on the hamster wheel that we know the Skaven rat boys love to play in. A similar design philosophy can be seen in the proper Skaven doom wheel that was released a few years later. Third is a more mechanical chariot. This may well have found its way onto the battlefields of the old world in the enhanced form of the Empire Imperial War Wagon. The 4th chariot is more orcish in nature, especially with the side guards. Interestingly enough, there is a notation on the image that suggests that it would have been pulled by rats. The later chariot, ridden by Goblin War Chief Grom the Paunch, has been claimed to have taken inspiration from this sculpt, but it's not too close in design to my untrained eye. In 5th place is a very aggressive looking steamroller. It seems likely that this went on to inspire the Dwarf Death Roller in Blood Bowl. Finally, there is a pretty unusual cage chariot. I'm not sure if this drove into the designs of any other chariots from Warhammer, but it looks suitably impressive. A collection of hero and villain models were also sculpted for battle wizards. Some goblins and some rats, which would later get full Warhammer releases, and some of the battle wizards themselves. The images in this set of 4 miniatures would go on to be released in 1995. Available both on foot and mounted. The schools of magic covered by these wizards are Jade, Celestial, Bright, and Gold. The fact that all of these vehicles are flatbeds, or at least have flat platforms, and that the battle wizards are all on foot, makes me wonder if there might be something like the rules for the Rogue Trader Orc Battle Wagon intended for the game. Basically, the Orc wagons in Rogue Trader had a carry capacity of as many Orcs as you could physically fit in them, but if any fell off, then they'd get injured. We actually played Gorka Morka the same way, with a house rule that if the Orc fell off, it died where it landed. Wild fun. I'm imagining that in this chariot racing game, if you knock your wizard off your chariot, then maybe they took damage or had to race to catch up with their vehicle. There is literally no rules evidence to suggest that this is the truth, but I think it would have been fun and makes sense with the mini design. In the mid-90s, at the annual GW Games Day, typically held in Birmingham, there was a special squig racing game which had a set of models sculpted especially for it. 3 sets of really rather hairy looking squigs dragging an assortment of orcs and goblins behind them. Formula War indeed. Given the timeline and subject matter, I do wonder though if these could have been something to do with battle wizards as well. Or were they just, like many Games Day games, completely awesome one-offs? In the year 2000, the Citadel Journal, in issue 42, would include rules for a Warhammer Chariot racing game. Whilst this is unlikely to be the same game or the same rules as Battle Wizards, given it's almost a decade later, it felt worth mentioning given the subject matter. Oh, and just for fun, here are some pictures of Matt Park's incredible chariot racing diorama that won Golden Demon in the year 2000 as well. An incredible piece. This video would have been absolutely impossible without the valuable work that the Lost Minis wiki, the Stuff of Legends, and the Collecting Citadel Miniatures wiki do to archive images and adverts from the history of the Citadel range. All of these sites are really worth a look and worth support. I've put links to them all in the description below. So there you have it. We don't have an awful lot of information, but we know from Bryan Ansell that there would have been a 4th collaboration between MB and GW. It would have focused on chariots. It would have had battle wizards battling out and firing their spells from their different types of cart across the map. It could have been amazing if it was anything near as good as HeroQuest or Space Crusade. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like. Please feel free to comment if you know anything else about this potential game, what it could have been. And if you feel like subscribing, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I am Jordan, this is Martha, and this is Jordan Sorcery. Do you want to go chariot racing? Is that why you're sat here like this? For the whole video? Ah, now you're ignoring me. That's about right.